was the thing that he said in the way that made me feel. That's the reason why I'm not with him today. And one of those things that he said to me was when we were already splitting up and I was moving out. And I was telling him, like, hey, you know, we don't need to do a nasty divorce, but, like, you do need to, like, give me some money to go on about my way, because I've been a stay-at-home mom for the past year and a half, and I don't have anything to show for that year where I could have been earning money. I was at home taking care of us. Like, you got to work because of my sacrifice, so I deserve something. And, like, nothing unreasonable, but just something so that I can breathe, so that I'm not, like, paycheck to paycheck, literally. And he told me, he said, and I also said that, yeah, I didn't work, but, like, I provided value because I gave birth to 2 children and I raised them. And I helped with family life. And his answer was, what you did, that's not how value works. What you did didn't have any value because there was a lot of women who wanted to give me kids. I could have had kids with anybody. But you can't just run out and go find a man to provide for you any day of the week. So me providing for you was more valuable than you giving me 2 children. And, like, I just really want to spare, like, any young woman what you go through to bring these children to this planet is not worth what they're telling you is going to be your reward. I had to sit there and hear him say that to my face. When they say marriage is a humiliation ritual, this is what they mean. I've forgotten more shit that he said like that to me.
I've seen so many videos like this on social media, and I think it's one of the main reasons why I decided to open up this platform, to just share my views, and hopefully it helps somebody, because it's certain things that were shared with me and it helped me. And it might not be for everybody, but for those of us that are searching and that are looking, it will hopefully answer a couple of questions. But for young women especially, because I'm trying to reference this particular video, right? It's very important in this day and age as a young woman to have a realistic understanding of what marriage is today, right? And it's important that we learn to romanticize the reality of marriage instead of the idea of what marriage is and what it's supposed to be. Because the reality is, when you get married after a certain age, where you are at a mature stage to decide on getting married and choosing a life partner. And I want to say a mature age is at least from the age of 30, because your frontal cortex, or your prefrontal cortex, which is the decision-making nerve in your brain, that is fully developed only at the age of 25, or from the age of 25. So making a decision to get married before that age, 99% of the time, usually it's not always a right decision, because you don't know who you are yet. And when you don't know who you are, how do you decide who is the person that you want to spend the rest of your life with? Because there's so many factors that come into play. But when you make a decision after the age of 25. For women, frontal cortex development starts from the age of 25, between 25 and 30. For men, it's a little bit later. It's between the ages of 27 and 33 or 35, I think. So when you make a decision after, where you're able to be a bit more logical and objective when you're making a decision, you have to be at the same par in terms of how you think and how you both reason. That's why somebody at this stage, after children, two children, can come out of a marriage with a partner that is saying having children is not considered a term of value for him, because anybody could have given him children. And unfortunately, a lot of men, some men do think like that, realistically speaking. That's why as a woman, it's important for you to become your own person before you become someone's wife, because now you are at the mercy of someone who feels that the decision you made to get married and give him children does not equate the decision he made to get you pregnant and take care of her family and raise a family. So she now has to start over. That's why it's very dangerous as a woman to just put all your hope in a man and sacrifice everything that you are because you want to sacrifice it for your marriage. It's not a bad thing. However, it can become a very draining thing when you make that decision and you end up partnering with somebody who doesn't see life the way that you see it and who doesn't value you the way that you value them. Then it becomes very dangerous because then it can determine the direction of your life, and sometimes in a very negative way, like in the case of this lady. Because the difference is, women, we choose marriage based on feelings and emotions 80% of the time, or 80% of women. Other 20%, they kind of the girlies who are like, no, I'm getting into this knowing exactly what I want out of it. And if that's not what I'm getting, I'm not going into it. But 80% of women choose marriage partners based on feelings. Men are very logical when they're choosing marriage after a certain age. They are very intentional about it. And usually, men will choose a woman to marry not because they're in love, but because they are ready to get married. That's why you find sometimes somebody will be in a relationship with someone for years. He never proposes. Then they break up. He meets somebody else after 6 months. They get married. Men marry because they're ready to get married. So whoever happens to be around at the time that they're ready to get married, they get married. And usually they make that decision based on convenience and based on the woman that's willing to make certain sacrifices for them, because they need that to be in place in order for them to get what they want or to achieve what they want. So they're very logical in how they make decisions. And usually they know if it doesn't last, what they're going to do and how they're going to get out of it. Whereas women, we go into it with emotions and feelings, and we feel like this person will stand by you regardless because you're willing to make these types of sacrifices for them. And that's not always the case. So that's why it's very important, ladies, become your own person. If you have to take a couple of years and focus on your career, focus on your career first. Even within the context of a marriage, you could get married to someone. And if you're in love, you could come to an agreement and say, okay, for the first 5 years of our marriage, I want to focus on a business, or I want to focus on my career or my studies, or whatever the case is. I want to get a PhD, or I want to get a master's, or whatever the case is. So for the first 5 years, we're not going to have kids because I need to focus on XYZ. And if he loves you and he cares for you and he's somebody that wants to see you grow the way that you want to see him grow, he will be in agreement of that. Because unfortunately, having children, as beautiful of a thing as it is, it takes more from the woman than it does from the man. And scientifically, it's been proven that men psychologically and emotionally benefit more from marriage than women do. Women tend to be a little bit more stressed out in marriages because a lot of things pile on top of each other, where they have a husband that they need to cater to, children they need to raise, they need to still appear a certain way in their places of work and so forth. Whereas for men, their lives become a little bit easier and more convenient when they're in the context of a marriage, because it's almost like gaining a secretary, because all the basic logistics will be taken care of as a man, and all you need to focus is on yourself and your career. Whereas with the woman, it's all the logistics taking care of it, getting pregnant, having children, going through the mental and the emotional that all that causes, and then still trying to keep yourself intact and keep yourself together. So I just want to say today, ladies, that it's not a bad thing to wait and focus on you and build on you before you start building a family. Whether you're doing it outside of a marriage or you're doing it within the context of a marriage, because your value alone, as we can clearly see, is not just by you building a family and having children. That's not the only thing that gives you value as a woman. And it's very important to understand and focus on that. So I just wanted to give that out today, ladies, because I see so many of these types of video floating around on social media, and I really hope that we are able to come into a generation or an era where we can have open conversations like this, and it's not taken as a feminist agenda, or it's not taken as some kind of a way to discourage and derail women from marriage, because clearly from the examples that we can see, women are not benefiting from today's marriage. If anything, it's destroying a lot of them.